Sactown Sports breaking news.
Oh boy. Talk about breaking news.
What do you got for us, Chris Watkins?
This is from Adam Schefter, so you know it's real.
According to sources,
Nick Bosa has agreed to a 5-year, $170 million extension with the San Francisco 49ers, putting him at $34 million per year average. This is including a $122.5 million guarantee. By a wide margin, he is now the highest paid defensive player in NFL history.
Woo!
Wow. So how about that?
Huge sigh of relief coming
Massive.
from the Santa Clara area. That's from Kyle Shanahan right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can hear that. You can probably feel the breeze of that sigh all the way here in Sacramento. They had to get it done, man. Again, the Niners really had no leverage in these arguments. If they wanted to be taken seriously as a Super Bowl team this year, they needed 97 out there. They needed Nick Bosa. And, now that it's done, this is finally – Whitey, dare I say, does this sound like positive news from the 49ers right
Definitely.
now? Wait, are they allowed to do that?
Definitely.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that. It feels like after this offseason of just negativity and negative thing after negative thing after negative thing, it was just destined to be all negative news from the Niners. But obviously, this is the best possible news they could have gotten. And Bosa is now locked in for the next 5 years as setting that edge.
Mm-hmm. Good for them. Good for him.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he deserves after winning Defensive Player of the Year last year, routinely up towards the top of the league in sacks. He deserved this money. It's good on the Niners that they got it done. It's, of course, as I've been saying, it's unfortunate that they couldn't have made this process a little bit easier and a little less stressful. But at the end of the day, deal is done, and that's all you got to say. And he also got it done with enough time for him to get ready for Sunday, which is, I think, just all across the board. I think it's a win.
His dad, John Bosa, was picked in the first round. And in the late 80s, he had no value anymore. He got hurt. And then, so he went from being a first round pick to being just nobody. Dolphins, nobody, no other team was going to have any sympathy for him. So he learned that lesson. And of course, Joey, Nick's brother, was a training camp holdout into late August before signing his rookie deal with the Chargers in 2016. He took negotiations down to the wire in 2020 on a 5-year, $135 million extension.
Chump change.
So you knew, and the 49ers knew, that with that kind of family background and history, there was no way Nick Bosa was going to blink on this.
No. Yeah, no.
There was no way. It was not going to happen.
To the Bosa's credit, the Bosa family credit, they knew what they were doing. Again, they knew that the 49ers really had minimal leverage in this, especially, again, the Niners did themselves no favors in gaining leverage with the circus that has been this offseason. But, again, the important thing is that the deal is done. It's wrapped up. This is no longer a distraction, even if you would argue that it never was. I think John Lynch had made it clear that he had an expectation on when he was hoping this deal would be done. We are much past that date, but Bosa, I have no doubt that he's ready to go. I guarantee he's in football shape. And, again, with what, 3 or 4 days left until the start of the season, this was about the latest that this deal could have been done. I was hearing that Friday was also a possibility as like a real last minute potential, but you get it done today. I'm sure, we were hearing he wasn't in the building today. I'm sure he'll be there tomorrow, go through some walkthroughs and it'll all be good. I mean, the Niners official chase for a ring, I think, officially starts now.
That's a great point.
There's no doubt.
I think you're right. And I also think there's no need to worry about, he's not in game shape. He hasn't played because we know that he's been staying in shape and nobody knows better than he what exactly he needs to be in as far as his condition to play pro football. And you could even argue that maybe there's some upside there. He's taken less of a pounding here
100%.
Before the season starts.
So be fresh. I mean, there's no reason for him to feel worn down at all from training camp or from, preseason or anything like that. Like, he should be fresh, ready to go for week one. And the Niners are going to need him. I mean, we've been talking about it. We've been pretty much assuming he wasn't going to play this entire time, but now that he is, I mean, again, this is good energy heading into that first game. I was talking earlier about how it's just negative vibes, and you just don't want that heading into against a team that in Pittsburgh that's feeling really good about themselves. This is finally some good energy for the Niners. And kind of like I just said, this feels like everybody can look around and say, all right, I think we're past all the drama now. This is real. Football's around the corner. We got our guy here. Let's go. Like, this is, we have real mission this year to get over the hump. And this is obviously a really good step towards that.
Still a little bit of kicker drama, but that really doesn't seem like such a big problem now.
So minimal
compared to this. Again, the story is, and we're moving factor fantasy here because we just got Chris got the breaking news. Nick Bosa agreeing to a 5-year, $170 million extension with the 49ers, including $122.5 million guaranteed.
Right.
It will make him the highest paid defensive player in history.
Wow.
Take
that, Aaron Donald.
Yeah. By a looks like by a wide margin.
Yeah, by a huge margin. I mean, even for edge rushers, I think TJ was at the highest at 28. And he blows that out of the water now, making 34 per year. And it's not even an overpay. Like, you were really quick to point it out a couple weeks ago. Like, this team doesn't have realistic Super Bowl expectations without Bosa. And so if they wanted to be taken seriously, or if they wanted to be serious about this Super Bowl run this season, where with their championship window closing or whatever the talk is, they had to get this done, and they had to get him on the field by any means necessary. And I'm glad, like, I'm glad that he got paid. I'm glad, that the Niners are again full steam towards the championship now. And, it's now it's going to be fun looking forward. How are they going to balance this cap out? And that's a conversation for a different, further time. But, it's a lot of money that they just paid this guy.
Yeah. And I think the fact that they're making this move to pay him this much does speak to the realization that, well, we have a shot this year.
Absolutely.
And we'll wait and hear about some of the particulars and the cap implications of those particulars. But it's pretty clear here that the calculation is, well, if we have a chance to win this year, and so we're going to have to pay him. And we knew this is what it would come to.
Yeah.
And I really do think that what it's been is not so much, well, we're not going to call them. We'll wait for them to call us, as it's been the 49ers trying to figure out a way to make it work. You want this? All right, we're going to have to try to figure out some ways to do that, but we're going to try to do that.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, and they did. And that's the most important thing, is that they got it done, and you'll figure all that stuff out later. I mean, NFL cap is a myth. Like, you can adjust and you can restructure salaries moving forward to make the deal not as painful on your cap. But the important thing, again, is that they got it done. He's going to be ready for week one, and there's just no more distractions for the most part. I mean, you got rid of Trey Lance and that distraction, whether that was, Trey's fault or not, or whoever you want to blame on that. You're right to mention the Moody situation, or the kicker situation in total, is still a question, and Kittle is still a question about his health. But, the most important thing was Nick Bosa, and making sure that this defense was going to be up to standard of what they've been these past couple of years. And there was just no way that they were going to be able to keep that standard up without their best defender.
Even if this gets to the point where, and it may already be there, we don't know the particulars of it. We just found out the news that Bosa has signed his extension. But let's say that this makes it less likely they keep Ayuk around next year.
Right.
Or maybe.
Or Debo even, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys are
not ideal, but okay.
I hate to say it, but yeah, absolutely. Those guys, you can figure it out. You can definitely figure it out without those guys, but you can't just find another Nick Bosa. I mean, and he was also the crown jewel of when the Niners had one really bad year, and they used it to get Nick Bosa. If you were to just lose that piece, I mean, it would all be for nothing, and you already kind of messed up the Trey pick, and you couldn't go this. There was rumors earlier this week or last week that they might look to trade Nick Bosa. To me, that was, again, if they wanted to be taken seriously as a Super Bowl contender, you just had to have this guy on your team. And the fact that they locked him down, not only for this year, but for the next 5 years or 6 years, I guess, that's just massive for the Niners trying to extend this championship window. Like, Bosa is going to be an incredibly valuable player all throughout this contract. Like there's no sign of him slowing down at any point here.
Did you see who the team was that, according to reports, had actually
I did not.
inquired?
No.
Their quarterback believes in UFOs.
Really?
Yeah. According to reports, the Jets had inquired. Doesn't mean that they were, negotiating, but it was reported that the Jets were a team that had inquired about, hey, what's going on here?
That's interesting because I don't feel like that would. I mean, again, we're talking about Bosa. He's definitely is a calculus changer, but I wouldn't think that that's what they really need.
I don't know if this one had anything to do with the other, but the Raiders had renegotiated Jimmy G's contract yesterday.
Interesting.
Creating about, I think, $16 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That maybe that had nothing to do with this, but I think it raised some eyebrows.
Good news is all that's out the window now. I mean, there's really no question that again, they're going to keep Bosa at least for the foreseeable future until this window is closed. And he's going to be a massive piece. Like getting to the quarterback is really the, if you, especially the Niners, in their secondary questions, a quick fire way to shore up any doubts that you have in your secondary is by having an elite defensive line. And now with Bosa, with Hargrave, with Armstead, and, Cleve Farrell playing really well, and Drake Jackson, 49ers defensive line is elite. Like this is something that they can really hang their hats on, and something that they can carry through this entire season and know that they are going to walk into every week and be a problem for quarterbacks.
It's another reminder that it seems counterintuitive for all the focus on the 49ers and what they do offensively, but their most unique player on the roster is Nick Bosa.
Yes.
And Nick Bosa, again.
That's saying a lot in a roster full of incredibly unique guys.
5-year, $170 million extension, $122.5 million guaranteed. So he is the highest paid defensive player, or will be once he signs it, in history.
Incredible.
Reprieve for you. So the Factor Fantasy Showdown moves to 115.
Okay, have some time to breathe and get ready for
the pie questions.
Yeah.
Coming up next, more on Nick Bosa's new deal. And I'll tell you what, this is what's going to drive 49er fans crazy about Brock Purdy this season. Pardon me, about Brock Purdy. That's next year with Whitey and Watkins on Sactown Sports.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
Who do they decide on for the Super Bowl?
What do you mean, halftime act?
Yeah. I know that Taylor Swift...
Yeah, turned him down, right?
At what